Here we go on a Friday. It's Stadium Pulse. College football talk for the next hour on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. We've got a lot of topics for you today. I'm excited. I'm also excited because today's a unique episode for us for multiple reasons. We'll get into why that is in just a second. We've got President Trump in on a college football commission with Nick Saban, what that's going to do, what the goal of it is, whether it'll work, and the businessman / ex-college football player who's in on the leadership as well, Clemson and Notre Dame, with a 12-year deal. 12 years to play starting in 2027. Urban Meyer forgets he's Urban Meyer, I guess, and wants to put his name back in the headlines, and he's really good at that. Jared Curtis chooses the Dogs over the Ducks. How much does a 5-star quarterback help you in recruiting, or are there actually some reasons why it could hurt you? We'll get into that as well, not just at the quarterback position, by the way, and some one little note on the future playoff bracket, 12, 16 teams. We'll get to it. But today, Nick, you know, if you're starting the college football season,
yeah,
and we're still 4 months out of games, and you're already eliminated from bowl contention, it's not good.
Yeah, it'd be pretty terrible.
Okay, well, that's the case for a team, and that's the case for Akron. For the first time since 2014, a team has already been deemed bowl ineligible because of academic reasons. Okay, they're it's not a RAS score. It's like a 3-letter word. APR. Isn't that a band? An APR band? Somebody in the chat.
I know NPR is a show.
NPR. Yep, that's
I don't know about APR.
Yep, that's news broadcast. APR. Pretty sure that's a show. Maybe something approval rating. But this is academic. Academic productions rating or something like that. It's supposed to be at a 930. That's the minimum. They're at a 914. So see ya, Akron. Kiss your bowl hopes goodbye. Although you haven't gone in a long time, and I think you've won 15 games in the last 6 years. They did go 4-8 last year. It's an ascending program, Nick.
Ascending?
Ascending program under Jim Moorhead. But nonetheless, Akron is already out of bowl contention. Hey, it's 2025. I know Travis Hunter had a 4.0, and we're celebrating that around here because he wore Jaguars pajamas under his graduation get-up yesterday. But Travis Hunter aside, in this NIL era, how did you do that?
It's called pre-show build.
Not a baby.
Watch this.
Are you zooming for me? Bang. Dude, what are those shoes?
Yeah,
those are
sick. I said when I saw them in the newscast. I thought, what are those? They're probably like Yeezys or something.
We're going Jaguars pajamas under the get-up. That's pretty... Nick, did you walk at your college graduation?
Funny story. No, I didn't, because I didn't know when it was, and I totally whiffed on going.
Okay, well, you're going to see... Nick, I've told you... See, okay. Hold on here. Okay, so one of the reasons that today is a unique episode, the biggest reason, is because it is Tennessee Nick's last time with us. He is moving on to bigger and better things, moving back home. He's got big things on the horizon, getting married later on this year. It's a bittersweet show for us. And again, we'll have a little bit more on that later, but I had to get to it now because, Nick, the one thing I've told you from the jump, we've been going at this for 9 months now, is when you're going to say something that's real shot out, you need to be on camera for it.
All right.
Okay? And you had a chance to really... So you were trending up, going up out on top by pulling Travis Hunter quicker than I thought was possible. And then you decided to say something insane, but you weren't on camera to show face to do it.
Oh, yeah, I totally whiffed. I mean, it was 2020, so it's COVID.
Uh-huh.
So graduation's already funky. They were still going to have it, I think.
Sure.
And I emailed my professor. I said, when is graduation? He's like, it was last week. They'll just mail you your diploma. And I was like, oh.
Seriously?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't even like a one-day off thing. This was a week later.
Yeah, or it was something like that. I mean, it was like I just totally whiffed on it and missed it. Totally whiffed. It was like just supposed to be at the campus in the gym.
You didn't have a classmate reach out? You didn't have
but this is community college.
I get it.
This ain't no regular college.
I get it.
Ain't nobody that close.
You didn't have a buddy of yours that you went to the same school?
I probably did, but sure, but we weren't that like super close.
What was the reaction from the parents?
From my folks? I was just like, well, okay.
Yeah, I figured it'd be.
Because they weren't like real big on going anyways because of the pandemic. Like we really were trying to be cautious.
Okay. Wow. Man, you missed it by a long shot.
Whiffed it. Totally whiffed.
That's awesome. So, but it's not far-fetched for me to think or say that if you had gone, you would have been more than willing than to wear your Tennessee overalls underneath. If somebody would have put you up to it.
Yeah, if somebody put me up to it, made a bet, yeah, sure, I'm going to go in them.
Okay.
But otherwise, no, I don't think so. Also, to circle back real fast, because I did some internet sleuthing, Yeezy 450s for these.
That's nice work by you. Yeezy 450s.
I think $100 for these is what they want. Go.com, I don't know, let's see, $108, utility blacks, the pair he's got on.
Okay.
Which you got to admit is a lot cheaper than I was thinking.
Okay, so if someone were to buy those for you, how often would we see them being worn?
The thing is, I would wear them. I've seen people rock like the I think Yeezy Ultra Boost, like his first Yeezy with
Dog, I was unfamiliar with your game. I don't know shoes, and you do apparently.
Like first with Adidas, those I actually like. But then again, there's a stigma wearing Yeezys now with how Ye is.
Oh, that's very true.
So I probably wouldn't wear them enough now. But if the fiance saw me bring those home, they would be in the trash can out the door to the dumpster before I had a chance to ever actually wear them, because she'd think those are hideous, and they are kind of ugly. They're cool. They have a what factor to them, but that's about
true.
it.
That's true. All right, let's get to another what factor here. Let's get to some actual college football talk, because that's what we like to do. Clemson, Notre Dame, 12-year deal starting in 2027. I'll take them to 2038, right? We're very familiar with this kind of deal, but this is a first of its kind in the sense of how long it is. The longevity, the consecutiveness. Is that a word? Consecutiveness, right? We'll see teams do a 4-year deal, a 2-year deal, right? A home and home, 2 home and homes, something like that. But this is 12 consecutive years that Clemson will play Notre Dame. And I got to be honest here, I didn't know this was in the pipeline. I don't know if anybody knew this was in the pipeline. But to me, my first thought is, holy cow, what a head scratcher. Because look, we've talked about it all the time on this show. The College Football Playoff Committee prioritized one thing for 95% of the 2024 season last year. And that was your win-loss record. So the reoccurring question was, why in the world would you go play anybody tough out of conference? Right? And Georgia has a history of doing that. And we're actually going to be in a home and home with Clemson in a couple of years. But my thing is, I love that game. Like, I went to the Georgia Clemson game, I guess it was 3 or 4 years ago when they played in the Panther Stadium in North Carolina. Awesome time. However, what's the advantage now? You're only getting penalized when it comes to the committee. If the goal is to make the playoff, it doesn't really help you a whole lot, as much as it could hurt you. Because if you lose that game, again, they prioritize the win-loss. You got a 1 in that column, or you lose. Let's just say for Georgia's, as an example, you lose 1 SEC game on top, which is going to happen pretty much year in, year out. I don't know when the next time a team is going to go undefeated in the SEC, which that might be a topic for another time. But why do it? And especially for Notre Dame, or especially for Clemson, excuse me, when you pretty much have a walk to the playoff. As long as you don't screw up mortally, you have a walk to the playoff. You're going to go, at worst, you're going to lose 3 games, and then you have a shot still probably to win the ACC championship, but there should never really be a year where you're losing more than 2. And if you go 10-2 and you make it to the ACC championship, you're in. Right? Even if we talk about the proposed new format where we go to 16 teams and the ACC gets 2 teams, well, then they're really in. All you've really got to do is not lose 3 games. And then Dabo Swinney and their AD and their sports department says, we don't care. We don't care. We're throwing caution to the wind, and we're going to go play Notre Dame for 12 straight years. In one respect, in one aspect, I kind of respect it because I think it's a ballsy play, and it's great for the fans. It's great for the brand. But as far as making it to the college football playoff, which for every coach is pretty much their one and only goal, I think it's stupid.
100%.
Okay. Now,
really, this is like just an awfully long, odd, awkward, roundabout way that Notre Dame's just showing, hey, we need to join a conference, because you're essentially making an ACC rivalry game of this.
Exactly.
With a 12-year deal.
This makes a lot of sense for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Okay. Because this is their only shot, and not saying Clemson is their only shot, but playing a team like Clemson, who's most often going to be in the top 10 preseason, is a top 10 brand in college football. Playing a team like them is their only shot of getting a really good win, right? And it's what's crazy, Nick, is in what year is that? 2029. Let me read you some of Notre Dame's schedule. So they'll play Clemson, they'll play Alabama, and Texas.
And it's Clemson's?
That's Notre Dame in 2029. And they'll play FSU, which who knows about FSU at that time. But I'm sure when they scheduled, they believe that would be a tough test. Clemson, Texas, Alabama, and FSU for Notre Dame. So they're trying to get by the stigma that they don't play anybody.
And where's Syracuse at in 5 years? In 4 years?
Well, as long as Fran Brown is still there,
it could trend up and be good.
I would assume they're still ascending.
This could be an 0-12 kind of schedule right here, if I'm being honest with you.
Nick.
No, listen
Nick,
to me.
I know it's your last show.
Listen to me. Bama could be good again, but in my take coming up at the end of the show, I'm going to tell you something else.
Okay.
USF, probably not. Texas could be a problem. North Carolina, NC State, who knows about that one.
Nick.
Tech could be good. Florida State could be good. Syracuse could be good. Trending up. Wake Forest, iffy. Navy, we hope they're good. Clemson, I don't like Dabo, but maybe they trend back up. I doubt it happens under his leadership. Next coach, maybe. But you never know. But it's Notre Dame. Is what
they just went to the national championship.
When you don't.
Whoa! What was that little squeak there? Hold on here.
Conference.
Huh?
This goes back to my thing here. They need to join a conference. They're building this thing with them. What are they wanting to make themselves available to play a schedule with half of the top 10 at that point in time in it? If you said right now, Bama started season top 10, Texas top 10, Florida State was like 10th, and they blew it, but whatever, and then Clemson was somewhere in the top 25. Like, that's an insane schedule, and then Syracuse was really solid. Tech wound up being pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
This is you could say, this is 24 Florida State going 2-10. They won't ever be that bad. But I'm saying the chance is there. It's a long shot, but the chance is there. Notre Dame is in such an odd spot in the current landscape, not being in a conference. But they do help themselves scheduling these harder non-conference games. But doing it for 12 seasons is kind of odd. Like, you're wanting to just force a rivalry to happen there.
Right.
And I don't think Clemson's the team I would want to pick for that. You have the USC rivalry that's there, but they don't play it every year, but that's probably one that they should make a yearly thing.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson's just Clemson.
Well, Clemson right now is like the second team preseason rankings. And I know you probably don't care about preseason rankings, but what they've done recruiting-wise, they always do it this time of year, right? And with the returning quarterback in Cade Klubnik, you will not find our rankings.
Who are you using? ESPN?
It don't matter. There's not a rankings out there, I would bet, that has them outside of the top 4 going into this year.
ESPN's got them at 7.
Well, whoops.
So we'd be out of the top 25 now because they got Tennessee at 19, which I think was fair in the 1st of January.
I'm telling you,
yeah.
I don't know when those were made, but if you include everything that's happened in the last month,
More accurate.
I bet you Clemson would be in the top 5. Regardless, I think it's a bold play for the only reason I understand it for Clemson is this is still going to be their marquee matchup of the year.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to I mean, they could potentially try to make a bid to get into the SEC in a couple of years. Right? They need their brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking off the field here. They need their brand to take another step, right? Well, you're not going to get that right now by just winning the ACC championship, winning one game in the college football playoff, but playing a typical ACC schedule. So I get that. That's the only positive I see for Clemson. All right, it's a good win if they win it.
Yeah,
it's their biggest game of the year as far as from ratings and a draw standpoint. But 12 years in a row, I mean, I don't care who the opponent is. And I guess we're getting to a point where rivalries have dimmed down a sense, right? Because, Georgia's not playing the exact same. Georgia doesn't play South Carolina every year. That's not the biggest rivalry in the world.
But it's a fun one.
But it's a fun one.
Yeah.
Right? Is Florida playing Auburn every year? Who are Florida's 3 teams? I can't remember off the top of my head. Obviously Georgia,
Tennessee, Georgia,
and obviously
LSU?
Tennessee. What's that?
LSU?
Is it LSU? I mean, they're not playing, the Auburn, the Kentucky every single year. Those are nice rivalries, right? So the only thing I can think of here also is that we're trying to up the rivalries, and I know that's individualistic, that Clemson's making a decision for themselves and for nobody else. They're not thinking about college football, but
yeah, Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU.
This is absolutely an attempt to, like you said, manufacture a rivalry, and it might not be a great. And both of their ADs said it's a budding rivalry already. I get they've played, I think, like 8 times in the last 15 years or something like that. Yeah. And they've met up in some big matchups, obviously in 2021 when Notre Dame was a de facto ACC team because of COVID and the scheduling. That was a big game right there. So I get it. The time feels right as far as where the team's set with their individual matchup. But I don't know if I want to play anybody out of conference 12 years in a row. Like one of the biggest parts of playing you starting your season with a big, like Georgia does with Clemson, or we've done it with Notre Dame, or this with the Jake Fromm years. We've done it with Oregon, and we're about to do it with Oregon. Is the fans, right? To go somewhere that you've never been, right? Well, that kind of wears off to some extent if it's out of conference, and there's not a true historic rivalry by year 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. And
then you got to play 9, 10, 11, 12. There's a shot that if
Notre Dame 5-0s through the first 5 meetings.
That's going to be tough to sell. And there's a shot that this could fall apart if there were to be some conference realignment. Say Clemson finds their way into the SEC in a couple of years. I'm sure there's a way out of it. Because I guarantee you they wouldn't want to play Notre Dame necessarily for 6 years in a row if they had to play a SEC schedule. But, yeah, man, I keep going back to that schedule, Notre Dame in 2029. That's crazy. If you had to pick one team for Tennessee to play 12 straight years out of the SEC, who would it be?
I feel like historically it's going to be Auburn because I feel like there's a deep
Out of the
rivalry.
SEC, pal.
Outside of the SEC?
Out of the SEC.
Oh, out of the SEC?
Would you want to play Notre Dame?
There's a Miracle at South Bend game from the 80s that we had that was pretty entertaining.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you got to go back to
like out, I don't know. Nebraska comes to mind because it was a problem in the mid 90s, but Nebraska's not really relevant. Florida State would be kind of fun.
Okay.
I like the Knowles and some of the stuff they got going, the war chant and whatnot. It's kind of like a fun atmosphere at Doug Campbell. But outside of the SEC, one of those two maybe. I don't know who else I would enjoy playing. Definitely not Georgia State. I want to haunt me from 20, whatever that was.
I'm talking about a big.
I'm joking about teams that we've choked against in the past.
Yeah. How about like a Penn State?
I just don't feel like there's enough history there to make it relevant.
Okay.
Like I need like history to be there, something to matter in the game in the past. And that's why I immediately went to Auburn, is because I think we used to play Auburn pretty regularly through the 90s and early 2000s, and then it switched where that's not the thing. So an in SEC one, that one I think would be fun to have back if that's the fourth SEC game that isn't the rivalry game with Vandy at the end or Georgia or Florida or Bama. I mean, but out of conference, I'm trying to think, even like Big 12 teams that are still there or Big 10.
I think if I'm Georgia, I would love to play a Penn State. I would want to play Clemson's a big one because that's an actual rivalry in many senses. I would say even like an Oregon. I would love an Oregon. And Michigan, there's not really any history there. Miami could be a fun one because you'd like to keep it semi close.
Yeah.
If you're going to play them 12 years in a row. Now, if you're going to do that's why I love Oregon. They got a home and home. Like Georgia fans will make the trip to Eugene one time because that's a place they'll never get to see the Dogs play again. But if you were to play them 12 years in a row, not everybody's making that trip 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
Miami, you'd have 50-50 in that stadium every time. Something like that. Obviously, we would want Miami to get a little better so the win means a little bit more, and that's a bigger matchup, but nonetheless. All right, let's move on. Trump, he's got a vision for this college football playoff commission. This is not a politics discussion, don't worry. But he's welcoming Nick Saban in. Trump obviously spoke at the Alabama commencement ceremony, I think Thursday or a couple days ago, one of those two. And Nick Saban obviously there. Nick Saban's still on the board at some level at the University of Alabama, and bringing him on because they realize that they need to step up or take it to the next level if they're going to, first of all, not get sued in any kind of rule or change they try to make, right? Because that's what we've seen so far in the last couple of years. So the first question is, do we need the president to change something like this, or to get get control on the wild, wild west that's been college football? And I don't know if you need it, but I don't think it's a bad thing to try and take it to that level to get this thing under control. So obviously he's tasked 2 people at least at the start of this, and there will be more. There's that whole thing about, whether it's from ex-coaches to or former coaches, I should say. They're going to try and put a whole team together and try and come up with some solutions here. So it's Nick Saban is the figurehead of it, along with Cody Campbell. If you don't know who Cody Campbell is, he played at Texas Tech under Mike Leach, I guess maybe 20 years ago. I don't know how old he is. I would guess probably upper 40s. I don't know how. I don't know his whole story, but he got into the oil industry, and now he's a billionaire with a B. He's got all the money in the world, and he's single-handedly funding Texas Tech's, come up. Right? They had the second best class in the transfer portal this year. They're paying out the wazoo. Cody Campbell is self-proclaiming them that they have the most talent in the Big 12. We ribbed them for that. I don't know, what was that, maybe 2 months ago when we were in the height of that? I guess maybe 3 months ago when we were really in the December-January transfer window. But he created their, I think it's called the Matadors, their NIL collective, and they got a bunch of guys in, and it's like the famous, or not famous, maybe infamous. Somebody was like, a fan was like, I think tagged him or something. He was like, hey, can we get some pass rush at Texas Tech? And he just responded, I will. And then he went out and paid for it. So why he's necessarily being thrown in already? Because here's what I don't understand, because he's funding all of these things. This is the new wave of college football, yet at the same time, he actually puts out articles, I guess in his spare time, and he's a huge advocate for more or less not necessarily going back to the way things were, because obviously he wants players to be compensated, but he's definitely not a fan of a lot of the things that are going on. Like he wrote a whole thing about Nico leaving and why that was a joke.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like he's unique in the sense where I'm not exactly sure where he stands on some things, because he's obviously trying to push the envelope in the transfer portal, and nobody's paid as an individual. I don't know if there's anybody who's paid more individually to a certain transfer class than he has, and obviously the young history of college football in the transfer window. But at the same time, like, he was trashing Nico. And that's what you get. Like, you can't get one of those things without the other. They come hand in hand. So he will be a part of this collective, this commission. And this would come via executive order from President Trump if it does happen. And it seems like it's trending that way. And we could even see that in the next week. Nick, if there's one thing, if you had to pick between roster limits, like limits on how many transfer portal guys you can get, the revenue share where we get a salary cap of sorts, and actually making the NIL deals are actual NIL deals, and it's not just pay to play. If you can only pick one of those three things, which would you pick?
Probably ensuring NIL deals are actually like binding NIL deals. Maybe I'm split on that, because the whole Nico thing would have been avoided if it was like a binding contract where he couldn't just up and hold out.
Sure.
It may have not changed that in the end, but I feel like holding guys to their contract, keeping them where they're at and where they signed to play. I mean, when you sign a contract for a job, it's where you're going.
Right.
It's the contract you agreed to. If you go in and you overperform by their standards, you can then ask for a pay raise.
Mm-hmm.
Nico didn't do that, and he still wanted a pay raise. It's not how this world works.
Right.
You do a good job, you get what you deserve. He didn't do that. He did an okay job, and he was okay for the money he had. Wasn't worth anything else than what they were already paying him. But I think locking guys into those contracts, like truthfully, by law, by whatever is written, and of course they'll throw it back and say it's antitrust or whatever, but I think that's the thing I would like the most. I don't think roster spots or limitations on roster spots is necessarily the right answer, but I think somewhere in there is like written that maybe you bump it from 1.5 million to like 1.75 million, with that being the 250,000 on the top is essentially like a sign-on bonus that pays for your scholarship. That way guys who get uber amounts of money don't take a scholarship. Like, they're non-scholarship walk-ons, essentially, but they pay their school via that, and then they're paying the $1.5 million to play for the team.
Right.
That way, the guys that may not get $1.5 million don't take a roster spot versus the guy that's worth $150,000 when he signs on. Like, I don't think, is there a cap on roster spots in college? There's like 100 guys on the team. I know in the NFL it's 53 when the season starts.
Right.
I don't think there's one in college, even for roster.
They might have to get it down to 90.
and 90's fine. It still gives you pretty much like 3 deep at every spot, if not 4 deep at every spot if you want to. with a couple of like spots for the special teamers and whatnot. But
Right. I wouldn't mind, though, if you say, hey, you get 7 transfer guys a year, and you can only get 7 guys. And once you're at 7, that would almost limit the pool and discourage people from hitting the portal every 6 months because the school, there's just less spots, right? That would encourage people to stay where they're at a little bit more because there would be less of a guarantee that, hey, Texas Tech, I think they signed 22 guys in the portal.
Yeah. That's a full starting day 1 roster.
Right. And, and 7, I just came up with that number.
But 7's not a bad number because not only does it make the pool smaller for the guys who want to transfer, it reinvigorates high school recruiting.
Right.
And it makes that more important where you still want to get the freshmen in that you want to coach up in the program and then fight to keep them. And it's kind of unfortunate you have to fight to keep them now. It's kind of just the way of the world at this moment.
And here's the other thing that would come with, I'm sorry, I cut you. Go ahead. Finish.
Because you don't get like a ball for life, a dog for life, a gator for life. You don't get the bull gators in the end of the guys who've played, that have come back, that have put millions into the school.
Right.
You don't get that as easily as you would have before. Like there are guys like Al Wilson's one for me from the 90s who grew up in Tennessee, played at Tennessee, and has been a Vol for life ever since. Like he grew up a Tennessee fan. We had a guy transfer. He was like playing safety. Grew up like, I don't know, near Nashville, West Tennessee, whatever. Grew up a Tennessee fan. I think went to MTSU or Memphis 1, then transferred to Tennessee, played the last year or 2 for us, transferred back out, and I think he went to Miami. It's like, how do you grow up a fan of the school and finally get to play for the school and then still want to leave?
Right.
Like, there are guys in the past, like I think Eric Berry had a connection to UT prior to him going to UT. It may have been his dad. But still, like, he said a while back, they interviewed him. He's like, I wouldn't want to play in this era. He's like, I enjoy the time that I had playing with my brothers and it being the way that it was. Like, I remember us getting X amount of money a month for food or whatever it was.
Right.
And that's just like the student stipend. It's not even like NIL money or under the table stuff.
Right.
It's just genuinely how it was. And you've lost that, which is unfortunate. So you've got to figure out a way to like reinvigorate high school recruiting and reinvigorate that too. So a limit on roster spots for transfers might not be a terrible idea.
And the thing with 7, and again, that's a made-up number, but say you could only do 7. Like Texas Tech goes 22, they're not tied to a lot of those guys. If a program can only go get 7 guys, they're going to be a lot more tied to those guys.
Yeah.
They're going to put a lot more emphasis and importance on who they get, right?
How much they pay for them.
And so there's going to be loyalty necessarily, implied from both sides.
Yeah.
Right? If you know that if you're one of those 7 that you've been prioritized and you're coming in for a certain job, right? You're coming in for a certain to fill in a spot. Like not just take up a spot, but fill a role because look, they only had 7. They prioritized you and you were one of them instead of being one of 22 where if you don't play, no big deal. We got 21 other guys in the portal.
Yeah.
Right? So I think roster limits could be a sneaky one that, again, transforms the game. I really want to mention one quick thing before we hit a break. A guy, I don't even know if this sentence is going to make any sense, but no problem. A guy who is incredible. Hold on. How do I want to say this here? There's one guy who I think can talk without remembering who he himself is better than Urban Meyer. Okay? This guy, every time, and I know he's an analyst, so most of his stuff is actually football related, and he does have some good stuff when it's on the grass, football scheme stuff. But this guy all the time talks as if he doesn't remember who he is, or at least who people think he is, or people know him to be. Urban Meyer says this week, he is specifically kind of about the Harbaugh situation, right? Because Sharon Moore is and we didn't even get to that, but Sharon Moore, the coach of Michigan, is mandating a 2-game suspension for himself. To try and get ahead of the recruiting violation stuff with Stallings and all those, that whole story. And Urban was talking about Jim Harbaugh and pretty much said that he should never be able to coach in college football again. And then he goes with this statement right here. He says, if you're ever caught lying to the NCAA, you're finished. You're done. That's it. Like, contract terminated. You can never coach an NCAA sanctioned event ever again. Okay? I know what he's getting at. I know he's talking about Jim Harbaugh. But Urban. You're Urban. Ain't nobody leave all that aside, man. Like, no, you're gonna tell me that you did everything by the book? That you never told a little white lie to the NCAA? That your record's squeaky clean? By your own standard, could you ever coach in college football again? I mean, I don't know what we're doing, but I don't know if we're just throwing stuff out there because we're anti-Michigan and we're anti-Harbaugh. But I mean, should never be able to coach again if you lie to the NCAA. Just not the guy that I would assume that soundbite or that bite comes from, of all people. Stay in your lane, Urban. Stay in your lane. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Jared Curtis, we get to him, 5-star quarterback, commits to Georgia. How does that impact recruiting? Could it actually inhibit Georgia's ability to recruit, not just at the quarterback position, but also others? And will he stick? Right? We're in this era where a commitment only means so much. Right? Will he sign? Will he be the quarterback of Georgia in the future? And what does that contract look like? Because we have a decent idea of what the numbers are on that. We'll get to that. We got 20 odd minutes of college football talk from Tennessee Nick before he hits the hills. It's Happy Trails time. We'll see you back in a couple of minutes here on Stadium Pulse.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade. If you need a quality play this football season at your home, call That One Painter First Coast. Locally owned and operated, experienced employees, no builder-grade materials. And there's more, and for that, we throw it to Noah Schlicksup. That One Painter First Coast can apparently help your kicking game, too.
Well, after my failure on skinny sticks last year on Creekside game day, I've spent a lot of time out here at Creekside practicing my kicks. There's only one issue. How is that even possible? The good news is I know exactly who can help. That One Painter can handle all your painting needs, from field goal posts to cabinets to stucco. They got you covered. Though they may not be able to help with my kicking, they can certainly help with the posts. Call That One Painter First Coast today for all your painting needs at 904-495-1373.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jack's 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the note for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Welcome back to Stadium Pulse on a Friday. We talk college football every single Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. for an hour. Hope everybody's having a good Friday. The Dogs pick up a huge commitment from Jared Curtis, 5-star quarterback, top-rated quarterback in the class, depending on who you ask. Some people may put Faison Brandon, who's committed to Tennessee and has been for a while. But nonetheless, tied, or if not the best, quarterback in the 2026 class. Picks the Dogs over Oregon. First thing I'll say is, I think it's something to be celebrated. At the same time, hold your horses, because if you don't believe, being committed is different than being signed, right? We still got a long ways to go before Jared Curtis signs the dotted line and is actually on campus at the University of Georgia, talking December/January of next year. If you don't think that Oregon's going to find a way to at least try to throw their name back in the hat and up their offer at some point over the next 8 months, then you're mistaken, right? That will happen at some point. It's just whether it'll be enough or not. We do have details, or at least reports on what the specifics of the deal are. And Nick, this is really interesting. Obviously, Nico kind of set the precedent for what a quarterback out of high school can get. Obviously, Tennessee went through a ton of legal hoops to get him and signed him to pretty much like what was understood to be an $8 million deal. Jared Curtis, who is the same level of player as far as the ratings and the recruiting goes, is signing it's $2 million for over the first 2 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's going to get, this is the reports, anywhere from $600,000 to $800,000 in year one. Mm-hmm. Anywhere from 1.2 to 1.4, whatever gets them to $2 million in year two.
Yeah.
With the understanding that they'll renegotiate going into year three. Okay. So unlike other schools, Georgia's backloading their deals, and this is not new for them. They do this all the time. But one, this says something about the University of Georgia, says something about Kirby Smart not willing to budge a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the right word, I don't know if supremacy is the right word, but around the program, because there's very few programs that could pull this off.
Yeah.
Right? You have to, so many programs, and Tennessee has had to be one of these teams. They have to load the deal, or else they won't get the guy.
Yeah.
They won't get him. Oregon does this more, right? And they're able to, and they got beat out in this case, but again, who knows? But to pay a 5-star, top-rated quarterback $600K to show up on campus compared to what Nico got, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Right? $2 million to $600 or $700 or $800,000 is not close. Right? You're talking about a 50% to 60% pay difference there.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Georgia players, and he's not the first one, but Jared Curtis took a pay cut here. Oregon, we know Oregon offered him more. I don't know how much more. We don't know how much more, but they offered him more. He took a pay cut to come to the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great place to be, and that as a fan should tell you something that makes me feel good, right? That at some level, I think even as a college football fan, this should be welcomed because that means, oh, wow, it's not just all about the money.
Yeah.
Somebody's picking a school because, he has an affinity towards the school. He has an affinity towards the coaching staff. The relationships built with the coaching staff matter. He wants to play at this specific school. He wants to play with this team.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to play in a conference even. That's not dead completely yet, or else he would have gone to Oregon.
Yeah.
We know that. But obviously, if he's a starter come year 3, then we're going to get into the $3 million a year type category because that's what the going rate is for, we've seen $4 million. I mean, for Beck and guys like that. We even saw like $3 million for Mensah, who went from Duke, right? So here's the thing though. Is he going to stay? If he does sign, will he stay? Because it's one thing to say, yeah, you're going to get $2 million to sit for a year, at least in year 1. Because here's the thing: Gunnar Stockton is not going to be a one and done kind of guy.
Yeah. No.
I don't know why people, I guess, maybe assume so just because he played a little bit last year. So I guess, there's no shot. He's not going to be a 1-year guy and go. He's going to play 2 years. Now, it might not be at the University of Georgia, which I would say that would be if I had to bet on it. There's a chance that he plays this year, and then even Ryan Puglisi, or Jared Curtis takes his job next year and he transfers out. But he ain't going to be a one-and-done guy.
Yeah.
As far as going to the NFL. So I'd pencil Gunnar Stockton in for 2 years. What does that mean for Ryan Puglisi? Well, as of right now, I'd say it probably means that he's got to find another place to play. Now, I'll preface that by saying Gunnar Stockton does not have the starting job locked down. Right? Puglisi is very much still in the conversation. But look, if I just had to bet, that's what I would say. Because you can't sit Jared Curtis for 2 full years unless he is absolutely guaranteed to be the starter
by year 3, yeah, because he ain't gonna like it if not.
Right, and there's not even competition. Right, he has to be guaranteed the starting job going into his 3rd year, and not even a chance of anybody else taking a spot. So the question is will he live up to the billing? Will he live up to the billing? Because as we talked about last week on this show, 5 stars, true 5 stars. Mm-hmm. The large majority of them have been not just drafted, first rounders. So to live up to the billing of a true 5-star coming out of high school is to get drafted in the first round. That's what it means. If you're fulfilling or living up to that high school rating. Now, there are so many factors that go into that. But for Jared Curtis to live up to the billing would be for him to be Matt Stafford-esque.
Yeah.
And win Georgia national title and go in the first round. That's no small task, but that's what it would be. So I can't answer that question, obviously, whether I think he'll be able to do that. I have no idea. Also, his tape, there's very few and far between because it's a lot more private in Tennessee private schools. It's not out there everywhere. I mean, there's a little bit, but not near as much as some of these other guys. So we're kind of going off other people's words of what they've seen from him. But nonetheless, he's a dog as of right now. And that's something that that's huge. And, you've got to take those wins because Georgia hasn't had many of them at the quarterback position for a long time. I hope we see more of this from other schools, the backloading of contracts. Hey, we're going to pay you, but we're not going to pay you the most. We want you to show us to some extent that you want to play here for other reasons than just the money. We'll get to the recruiting aspect. Obviously, a lot of people believe, and there's some truth to it, that when a 5-star quarterback, a top-rated quarterback, recruits to your school, that he has a lot of pull.
Yeah.
Right? And that's very true. And I think in Georgia's case, that will be true. However, you have situations where you pay a guy $2 million. Well, that's taking up a lot of money for the other guys that you would want to come.
Yeah.
Right? And again, that's not necessarily going to be a problem for Georgia if they're paying him $600,000, in his first year. They'll still have ample money to go around. Right? And Jackson Cantwell, the 5-star offensive lineman, I think he's pretty much choosing between Georgia and Oregon as well, and hopefully Curtis will pull him in.
Yeah.
But say Curtis was making $2 million, well, that could be coming out of Cantwell's bag, right? And this is something that a lot of schools are battling with. If a quarterback is taking up 20, 25% of your annual roster,
you don't want that.
There's going to be a lot of guys like, y'all can't pay me enough. It's going to inhibit your ability to recruit. And I think Georgia somehow, I don't know how, I do know how, is we got to credit Mike Bobo. And for so many reasons, Mike Bobo is a constant name and a constant mention on this show because Georgia fans, he's the first person they point out when anything goes wrong offensively. It's never the players. It's Mike Bobo. Well, you look at why Curtis committed over and over. He mentions Mike Bobo, the relationship that he had. Mike Bobo's, coming to his house and doing all this and having dinner with his family. All of these things that we know happens on the recruiting trail. Apparently, Mike Bobo's gone above and beyond. Their relationship is awesome, and that was one of the biggest factors. So, understand that, Georgia fans who are always, up at Mike Bobo's throat. Nick, we have just a few. Gosh, it's already 9:52. We got a few minutes here. We might run a little long today. You got a couple minutes.
All right. I'll make it quick. I'll give you some reaction time.
I gave you one thing. Mm-hmm. I could have put together a tribute video. I wanted you to be able to go out in style and something new. So I said, Nick, I need one bold take because obviously, here's the thing. When Georgia plays Tennessee, you better believe that you're going to be calling in. Okay? But obviously, we're not going to have your insane takes week by week. So I needed one for the road.
Okay.
I needed you to think 4, 6, 8 months in advance and give me a bold take to go out on the fiery chariot. What do you got?
Gotcha. All right. Tennessee goes 10-2. Joe Aguilar, 3,300 yards, 32 touchdowns through the air, not counting runs, 9 interceptions. UGA goes 10-2. Beats Tennessee in week 3, makes the playoff, but is a lower seed. Bama goes 8-4 at best. At best.
Wow.
Dynasty is dead.
Wow.
The SEC, though, somebody in the SEC wins the whole thing, brings it home where it belongs, where it should be.
Okay.
I don't know who it's going to be. I don't think it's Tennessee.
SEC Truther.
I feel sketchy about it.
Okay.
I would say Georgia, given Kirby's track record at this moment, gives the SEC the best shot to win it.
Okay.
There's some dark horses out there. Maybe LSU and Garrett Nussmeier's better than I think. Don't know. Maybe Tennessee does do it. I don't know. I'm not going to be the guy to say that. I'm not going to put them on the mountaintop or on Rocky Top. And then I'll throw out who I think is going to win just because I think they're just absolutely a monster. They're not a dog, but they are a dog. It's Jeremiah Smith wins the Heisman. It seems like a lame duck pick, but I'm like, if you want to book who's going to win it now, it's that guy.
Here's my favorite thing.
If he plays through the first 12 weeks, how he played in that game, in that run in the CFB playoffs, he's winning it. You don't even have to just book it. Go ahead and place the bet. Now while the odds are probably as high as they're going to get.
Yeah.
Send that one home.
I just broke the mic.
Oh, that's not good.
So here's how we're finishing the show. Here's why I love this guy, okay? He stands on the SEC Truther like nobody else, well, besides me, I guess, on this show. And this is how you know. He mentions Georgia. He mentions Tennessee. He mentions Alabama. But we're still not accepting Texas because he didn't make no mention of them at all. Hordes down. Nick's out.
Be that way.
That's it for Tennessee, Nick. The fans appreciate you.
It's been fun.
It's been fun.
I'll have to call back in at some point.
You will be calling in. I will be texting you quite frequently once we get this thing rolling. Hey, we have 3 weeks off of Stadium Pulse. Your boy's getting married, so you won't see me for a couple weeks.
Congrats.
But happy Friday, everybody. We'll see you on June 6th. More college football talk then. Have a good Friday.
Wow.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned